Thought I'd take a couple of minutes here and show you some of the features of the banjo that I built for myself. There's some really interesting kind of details to it, as well as some steep learning curves in making some parts of it that I had never made before. So I thought I'd take a couple minutes and walk through parts of the banjo. So here we have it here laid out on my bench. I'm not new to woodworking, but I am new to banjo playing. And so I thought I'd make myself a banjo that I could actually learn on and use for a long time to come. So let's dig into some details here, and I'll show you the backstory on some of these decisions that I made. The first obvious feature of this banjo is the fingerboard has one continuous image on it. It's actually inlaid acrylic mother of pearl, which I didn't get much of the mother of pearl in somehow, but it's a white acrylic that's actually inlaid into rich light for the fingerboard. It's a early photograph by Edward Muybridge that originally was cut up vertically, but I thought the kind of lines of it fit well with a fingerboard, the frets. So it's a woman jumping over a stool. So if I get in close, you can actually see it's actually made of a lot of little lines. And each of those little lines, if I pan down to the bottom here, you can see are inset in there. Originally, I was going to actually put a different image across the whole fingerboard, but nothing worked out. It's such an odd proportion to have something that's 20-something inches long by 2 inches tall. So I thought this was a good one, and I loved the fact that as she jumps over the stool, she ducks down right by the 5th peg and stands back up. So I've cut off some of the image up here and some of the frames down there to make it fit. So the woods I used were curly cherry for the neck and cherry and locust for the pot. So you can see the layering here inside is locust with a cherry rim. The tone ring I made is based off of a tubaphone tone ring, but I made it myself. So it has a brass rod sitting on top of a steel hollow channel that's basically a square tube, but I had to make it from scratch because you can't bend square tubing like that. So drilled all the holes so the sound can kind of amplify out. All the hardware is made by me, so I actually made the J-hooks here with the knurled little adjusting knobs. So you can see there's actually no way to tighten them with a bolt. I tighten them by hand, and there's a hole in each of them that a pin can fit through and turn like a wrench. So that way it's seamless in terms of its aesthetic. The funny story here also is that these started out as circles or a round rod that I tapped, turned, all that stuff, and then turned into squares. So I should have started with square stock, I guess. This little contraption was quite tricky because it's what holds the neck onto the pot. So there's actually a thumb screw in the back that is threaded into it, and then a thumb screw at the front that keeps pressure on the neck. Some people used the shoe of a banjo, and when I tried that, I melted one because I thought it was made out of steel, but it was not. So I had to make my own, which turned out to be not that bad, but kind of fun. One of the other interesting challenges on this banjo was the tailpiece that I was determined to make myself. It has to be very, very, very close to the head, but not touching. It has to be at a tighter than 90-degree angle right here. But one of the funny stories for you guys that nobody will notice except for me maybe until I point it out is when I made this, I was accounting for the thickness of the string around this pin. So there's more spacing around this pin than here because I knew that the 4th string was always thicker. I didn't realize it wasn't thicker where they wind it, so those all could have been evenly spaced. You'll notice also I have an armrest here, and the armrest was an interesting one. It's the same woods as the head, which we'll see in a second, which are cherry and bog oak. Bog oak is a wood that a oak tree has fallen into a sulfurous bog, and over tons and tons of time has actually turned black. So that's naturally that color, no stains or dyes in any of the project. But this was interesting because I didn't know where I wanted to put it. I originally had it kind of slid down here, and I didn't know how to attach it the best way. So what I realized is I could just make it magnetic. So underneath here, let's see if I can pull it off. There's actually just magnets, you see right there, holding it wherever I want. So I can move it or take it off if I need to. The bridge is a hard maple with a bloodwood bottom and a rich light top. It's also got a fiber skin head on it that I really like. So let's move up to the top. So here at our Peghead, I have a bloodwood nut, Goleth planetary tuners, more of that bog oak and cherry, and a little inlaid leather stamp of my maker's mark. I drew out tons and tons of shapes for this and settled in on one that I really liked and really have enjoyed. It's a little sharp on these edges, but you never really feel them because they kind of drift over. Now down here at the base of the neck, you can see a few details. One is this frailing scoop. So after the last fret here, it drops down, room for your thumb to play. I think it fits up quite nicely next to the tension hoop. And once again, the tension hoop, this is the outside of the tone ring. Here's the tension hoop and my hooks. And all of that is blackened by heating it up to temperature and dousing it in oil so it won't rust. So that's a quick overview of the banjo. I'll play some images now here for you, so hope you guys enjoy. Alright, so hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for checking it out and seeing all the details of what I made. If you enjoyed this, please let me know. I'm also starting a new banjo that's kind of interesting, and so stay tuned to follow along for that. So here we go, play a quick song so you can hear the banjo, and I thought we'd look at some pictures. Sound good? Let's do that. So, y'all have a good one. We'll roll some pictures.